To Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you on this Wednesday. Looking forward to making it through the halfway point of the week. Glad to have you with us, no matter where or how you're listening, whether it's on one of our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN The Ref, always the right call down in Evansville, or on 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, WJOB, and up in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Keep it locked right here throughout your day, no matter where you're going. If you're following along on YouTube, just hit the like button. That's all we ask. Hit the like button. We appreciate you. You can subscribe if you want. Not going to stop you, but rather you hit the like button. Hope everything's going well. Appreciate everybody. Looking forward to hopefully talking to Cal Neddenrep in this first hour as the boys Indiana basketball tournament is close to getting underway. We've got teams from all over this great state, whether we're down Evansville or up in the region or in Fort Wayne, the Indianapolis area, of course, down in southern Indiana. Each area is represented, and you got to love it. There are good teams all over the place this season, and looking forward to talking about that as well. In the second hour, Rick Bozich will join us, of course, and plenty to talk about in regards to Indiana, the coaching search. They prepare to take on a Penn State team that they need to beat. That is this evening, a night game, 8:30 in Bloomington. That'll be on BTN. You can catch that. A game Indiana has to win. There's no question there for a number of reasons. Number one, their margin for error has simply vanished. They don't have any as the season has squeezed down here towards the end. And Penn State, who once looked like a team that was possibly going to be in the tournament, is most likely not going to be in the Big Ten tournament, much less the NCAA tournament, as they have really just plummeted throughout the season. Currently in the Big Ten standings, as a matter of fact, they are supplanted at the bottom only by Washington, who took it on the chin last night in a game. See, where they, I forget. I have to go back to the schedule there. I was just looking at, but I was looking at the standings. But yeah, last night, let's see, I just was looking at that a second ago. Yeah, Washington got waxed by Wisconsin, 88-62 up in Madison, as well as Minnesota beating Northwestern. They lost to Northwestern. Northwestern battling to stay out of that bottom, 75-63 over Minnesota. And let's see, that day before that, of course, Michigan escaped Nebraska with a 49-46 blitzer thriller. Also last night, it was Illinois that carved up Iowa, 81-61. I think that there's little doubt now that, well, at least that Iowa will also be looking for a new coach come season's end, as I think the Fran experience has probably run its course. And so we'll see. We shall see. There will be other jobs as well. I think, was it Utah that just fired their coach already? So got that going. The Pacers and the Raptors at 7 tonight, as Brian points out. So thank you. I'm going to talk about the 3 picks, and I hate to call them picks. It's not a pick. It's not who I want. It's not, I don't have a want as far as the next Indiana coach. So let's be clear about that. I'm just throwing out, here's my 3 selections of what I see as viable candidates. Not that there aren't others. There are. But, Brian, Illinois is Jekyll or Hyde, but fortunately they got a team in Iowa that not much playing against there. And those teams, there's teams there that have to pick up wins that are playing. Other games coming up tonight besides Indiana, Michigan State is at Maryland. Now that is a game to watch. 6:30 p.m. on BTN. That precedes the Indiana game once they're hosting Penn State. And then it's a triple header on BTN tonight. Ohio State at USC. Now, Ohio State needing to add wins because they're slipping down to that. Even though their net ranking is an unbelievably cushy, whatever it was, we talked about it yesterday, higher than I can believe. USC kind of, I think they still have a shot. I don't know. I haven't seen their name anywhere, but they're fighting. They're in the Big Ten tournament, which is amazing because at one time they were not. They were at the bottom, but they have worked their way well up into the standings. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 from the bottom. And we've got 3 teams that have 6 losses above Northwestern, Penn State, and Michigan or Washington, who are at the bottom. But USC, Iowa, and Minnesota, all with 6 wins. Before you get up to the next group that has 7 in it, that is a larger group that includes Indiana, Nebraska, Ohio State, Rutgers. So teams fighting for position now, if nothing else, seeding at the Big Ten tournament, because those bottom 6 or whatever, that determines who's going to be the bottom seed, the upper seed. It all matters. It all plays into it, and plays into whom you're going to play and your route that you take, because matching up the matchups. If you're a team that needs to win a game or 2 in the Big Ten tournament, like Indiana very possibly might be, getting the right matchups, so important. Being able to play Purdue again would probably be good for Indiana. Purdue does not match up well with Indiana. That's what I mean by that. So how you end up with the seeding, we'll find out. Appreciate all the comments on the hotline as everybody firing that up. Brian says, not sure Auburn is beatable at this point. They're beatable, but it's going to take a lucky night. Ed points out Indiana is a 6-point favorite tonight. Yeah, that sounds about right. Andrew says he's heard more pundits say IU is in if they get to 9th place in the Big Ten standings. I don't know that the standings matter, but what would that mean? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're tied for 9th right now. I don't think that standings itself matters. Indiana have to massage their resume, in essence. Currently, they're 7-9, 2 games under 500. I think that they have to go 3-1, which is very doable, which would put them 1 game better than I had predicted them being. I thought that they were going to go 9-11, but that if they go 3-1, that allows for a loss at Oregon. Not a bad loss. Gives you a win over Ohio State, a win over Penn State, a win over Washington, which that doesn't count for much. But being 10-10 in the Big Ten and a win in the Big Ten Conference would very, very possibly get Indiana in. They're going to be close. But you also have to remember, there are teams in front of them. You know, Indiana was I don't know. Have they moved into the first 4 out yet? I didn't see it yet. If anything has been adjusted. The one I saw last that had not been, but they've got the teams in front of them affect this as well. And you also have, don't forget about bid stealers. If there are bid stealers that pop up at the last second, teams like Indiana that are right there on the bubble, they get impacted, and sometimes impacted quickly. So we shall see. We shall see. Brian says it's taken IU 11 games to win 3. All they need now is 3 out of 4. Yeah. No pressure. No pressure. Just go ahead and go do it. Yeah, that's very, very possible. Very possible. Ironically, the 30 for 30 last days of night were on last night. I watched that again. I think people forget a lot of things, man. People forget a lot of things. So that's all I will say on that one. But good to revisit and remind them the memories of what is actually true and what some things forget. John says 3 days after Purdue, fans still crying. What are they crying about? Their team is just not that good. I thought that all year long. I thought that they were suspect, and I told Travis that, but as you know, he does not want to hear that. So, and how about Nathan Bairley yesterday? Big thanks to him again, the beat writer for the Indy Star, true professional. Grateful to have him on, and look forward to having him on more. Covering the Boilers for the Indy Star, does a fantastic job. Who knows? Indiana and Purdue may tangle again. You never know. In the Big Ten tournament, it's quite possible. Quite possible to happen. Anyway, getting to my coaches' selections, we'll do that after we take a break from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. I hope you're doing well to start this week off. We've got plenty coming at you. We're back at it right after these messages.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouth-watering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the hard truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Glad to have you as always. I hope you made it through the first half of this week with ease and looking forward for the backside of it. What are the plans going up? What are you going to do when basketball's over? Because guess what? It's coming. I don't want to think about it, but there it just happens every year, and it's like there's just a huge disappointment every time it comes around. But what are you going to do? Into each life a little rain must fall, right? So that's that. It'll happen, and we have to deal with it. But the good thing is we have other things that'll roll around after April. You'll have the new coaching hire. You'll have the Kentucky Derby. You've got the Indy 500, and then AAU basketball. And then you've got IU football to talk about, college football to talk about, all kinds of things going on. So we'll fill it in. But it's so disappointing to even think about that is going to be around the corner. But it happens every year as well. Looking forward to talking to Kyle Neddenrep this year as the boys basketball tournament is around the corner as well. And as I was saying earlier, lots of good teams from all over the state, whether it's Fort Wayne or Evansville or Southern Indiana, Indianapolis, the region. Anytime, anywhere, there's a team. Jeffersonville down in the southern part. I'm going to be interested to see what Sharon can do with that group. And we'll see what Kyle Neddenrep's take on that is. Let's see if we can get him on a little early today, as a matter of fact, and get a little extra out of him. That'll be a bonus. Dustin Sin, who's normally with us from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette, unable to be with us today. And also, here's from after last week's Indiana-Purdue game, post-game from Trey Galloway and Malik Renew.
Yeah, I mean, we had a pretty good break there with games off to kind of let our bodies recover. And obviously we really competed this week and got after each other because we're not satisfied with where we're at right now. But, I mean, I really like how we responded in that second half because, I mean, that's what we've been doing all year is just fighting because we've been in these games and we've been in big-time games where we haven't closed them out. But we've continued to keep fighting, and that's all we can ask for. And eventually it's gonna pay off. And it did today, and we just got to keep that momentum and keep going forward.
Yeah, Trey, just wanted to get your thoughts on the way Malik played today. I think it was 15 points, perfect in the field, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, the whole thing. How good was he?
He was great. And I think just him just being patient because he knows he demands a double because how good he is and how skilled he is. So just opening things up for himself by making the right reads out of the double, and he did that all night. And we knew by watching film and prepping it all week that he was going to get doubled because, like I said, nobody can guard him one-on-one. So just having that mindset of the willingness to pass shows what kind of teammate he is, and it's pretty special to see that. And I mean, it's going to continue to happen for us to win. He's got to continue to do that for us and be big all the rest of the year.
Was Trey Galloway talking about Malik Renew and other items in the post game from the Purdue game. Now, can they carry that forward tonight? Another home game against Penn State. This should it'll be a test. Every game is going to be a test, but Now, with everything on the line, you have to play like your hair's on fire every game in, game out. Doesn't matter who the opponent is. These guys have to be able to play with the same intensity. It doesn't matter what it says on the jersey. If it says Purdue or Penn State, you got to bring it. And they showed that they still have that fight. So hopefully for them, they can put another win on the board and then put another one on after that. It would be an amazing turnaround for this team. I think they're very fortunate because the bubble is a little weak this year. It has to be, with Indiana still able to hang on. I really don't understand the net that well with Ohio State being so high, and I don't care about Ohio State. I mean, I don't have anything negative about them. It's just it surprises me that they're able to keep that net up with almost a 500 record or close to it. They're not exactly lighting it up. As a matter of fact, overall, Ohio State is 15-13. They're 2 games above 500. 3 games under 500 in the Big Ten standings. So it's just a little crazy I know their net has dropped. Indiana has risen, by the way, as it should be. I think they're 50th in the Pomeroy now as well. But where is Ohio State? I thought I just saw them. But yeah, trying to do all this stuff at the same time. There they are. 35th. 35th in the net ranking. They're 15-13. Please, somebody explain that to me. Because I don't get it. They lose the game and they move down 1 spot. But they were above Texas, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, North Carolina, West Virginia, Cincinnati, Villanova, Nebraska, Northwestern, Indiana. Northwestern has a higher net ranking than Indiana does. Indiana has 2 less losses, 1 more win, and Northwestern just jumped 2 spots in the net ranking. They're 3-9 in quad 1 games, though. So you got to give it to them. They've that's not exactly terrible. They've won back-to-back games, as a matter of fact, and one of those was over Ohio State at the Schottenstein Center on the road, so that gives them a quad 1 win. They beat the Buckeyes handily, 70-49 as well, and they follow that up with a win at Minnesota. So they've got back-to-back wins on the road, trying to bump themselves up. Everybody is trying to improve things, and we'll see how it goes. But I talked about my coaching selections, and here are my 3. I hate to call it a top 3 or anything like that. But number 1, Scott Drew. You have not heard much about his name. Definitely no mention about him taking himself out of the running for anything. Not that there's been a lot of talk about him, which is probably to Indiana's benefit, to be honest with you. The less talk that there is, the less pressure that goes on, the less pressure that is on a school to, let's say, extend a coach. Scott Drew is a buyout that is doable. I think it's like $4.5 million. Yes, he was turned down by Louisville and Baylor, or he turned them down last year. But, yeah. And see, that's another thing. People when you mention a name, don't get hung up on all their game-by-game stuff, man. That's, but thank you for that, Laurie. She says, Scott Drew lost last night, so did Otzelberger. Well, guess what? He's number 2 on the list. TJ at Iowa State And then for number three is kind of a fill-in. It's the dark horse. I'll go with Ben McCollum, but I think Ben McCollum's going to end up at Iowa, most likely. That job is going to come open, and they would love to have someone that knows the area, obviously. So we'll see. But I think that maybe Scott Drew is the most viable candidate right now as far as success, availability, possibility. But it's just a throwout. It's a name. It's you've got to start somewhere, and his success is obvious. And everyone has a story. So there's the story about Hannah Mas-Perea, possibly, that might eliminate him. I don't know. But Chris Beard will not be an option. That I'm going to tell you. He will not be the Indiana coach. You can take that one to the bank. But I'm going with Scott Drew as my top selection. It does not mean that I think that he's my personal favorite or anything like that. I just think that the Indiana and the Louisville thing aside, this is a different year. Maybe things have changed for him. It's probably going to be difficult to win at Baylor. Getting harder to win at a place like Baylor. It's a football school. Now, the rev share, when that begins, maybe that helps them. I don't know. But as we saw yesterday, there was a story. Speaking of rev share, I'll talk about that later. I want to jumble those together. But I think Scott Drew, it's a good look. It's a great job. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for Russell says, thank you, Jim, for saying the obvious, which is what? Man, you guys when you comment, you gotta let me know what you're commenting about. I can't guess at it. But I just think Scott, because there's talk about Mick Cronin, and I'm like, yeah, I just don't see that as a great fit, especially with this season, how he has talked to, he's kind of been like Woodson-esque with blaming the players and then getting on the fans. And it's like, that's not a good look, man. Not a good look. Laurie asks, what about Jans or Texas Tech coach? They're great selections. There's nothing wrong with them. I was talking about Chris Jans yesterday from Mississippi State. I think he would be a fine choice. I mean, he could be number 3. It's gotta be somewhere. It's got to start somewhere. I don't know where Scott Dolson will start, but there has to be that person that kind of fits in there at the top first. But the good thing is you use the firm and you do back channeling and you find out if there's interest or not. So that way you don't get turned down. We've talked about this. That way no official offer is made that was rejected or anything like that. Chris or McCaslin at Texas Tech. Yeah, these are good selections, but you've got to start somewhere. That's like my question after Dusty May was extended by Michigan was, well, who's going to be that next call by Scott Dolson, which is kind of a metaphor. He's not really getting a call right now. They're all still working. And everyone's going to have an opinion. Now, the thing is, there is not a name that I could throw out right now that people would unanimously get behind that is available. Everybody has an issue with somebody for whatever reason. So we'll see. Let's see. Robert says that Drew stays, Oates stays, McCollum goes to Iowa, Indiana gets Cronin, McDermott, or Brownell, or someone of that ilk, and the mediocrity continues. Well, we'll see. With Scott Drew, the only reason that he would stay is if he just didn't want to leave. Because if he chose not to pursue the Indiana job, that would be back-to-back years in which he had, in essence, turned down Louisville, Kentucky, and Indiana. So it's not always about the job that you're going to. It's the place that you are. Maybe he is just that happy where he is. There is always that. The money is not going to be difference making for him. I believe he's already making $5 million a year. So it's not like it's going to change his life, even if they bump him to $6 million. It's not going to change his life. Now, going from 600,000 to 8 million, that changes your life. That happened, but that's not going to happen for IU basketball. I don't think that they're going to, that would mean they're going down a road that they went down with Kurt Signetti, which worked out incredibly well. I just don't know that that's going to be the case for IU basketball, but hey, nothing else has worked. So you always have to say, why not? When nothing works, it doesn't matter. There's nothing outside of the box when nothing has worked, in my opinion. So taking a chance on a guy like Ben McCollum or Grant McCaslin or someone like that, it's not. What's the difference at this stage of the game? You've taken chances on a lot of names. It's just like IU football. A lot of names you would have thought worked out did not. Were terrible. Cam Cameron comes to mind. Boy, that was a big flop. Jerry DiNardo, Sam Whites. They had all these big names in it. Just never happened. So it doesn't always matter about the name. It's what you can do once you get the position. And there's going to be other jobs. There's other jobs that are open now. Like I said, the Utah job is already open. I expect the Iowa job to become open. And then someone pointed out yesterday that apparently, or the story came out yesterday, that North Carolina had apparently re-signed Hubert Davis last December, and the news is just now coming out. So that job is not going to be opening up, which is probably a good thing for Indiana. It's that's one less place for someone to be lured to. So that makes Indiana a little shinier. But who is the guy that can do what Indiana fans want? It's not going to ever be like it was. I don't think people understand that getting coaches to do things that like Bob Knight did, that's like lightning in a bottle. Dan Hurley managed to make it happen last year, but that's a guy that's on the edge, it seems like, as well. So living on the edge is not where some places want to be anymore. And Indiana is definitely not going to have someone who is on the edge. And I'm not saying that Hurley was a possibility. It's not what I meant. Anything that's close to the edge, Chris Beard's close to the edge for Indiana. He will not have a chance of being the coach. It's not about opinion of mine as far as him. I'm not judging him. I'm not saying right. I'm not saying wrong. I'm just saying what is. And what is he will not be the coach at Indiana, period. End of story. So people can just stop wanting that to happen. It ain't gonna. It just isn't. Yes, they did. John, they did re-sign Mr. Hubert Davis, which, boy, does North Carolina. You think they regret that now? We'll certainly find out. Chris Collins, another name that has been thrown out there. And if, it's not a bad pick. I think he could win at Indiana. Hell, he's won at Northwestern. It's hard to get players at Northwestern. Do you think Northwestern has a big NIL budget for basketball? No. Now, what's it going to be like at Northwestern when they get the rev share, though? How is that going to change things? It's going to make some smarter kids wealthier. That's a certain. That is a certainty. But I think Chris Collins could win at Indiana. Cronin is a no-go for a lot of people. And, yeah, I've seen that. And Cronin's buyout is significant, Justin. You're right. So that's kind of a double-edged sword, and it makes him a worse candidate. Dusty Banner says the Beard's in Indiana's lap. Why would they take a winner? It's not about that. It's, again, they're not going to take Chris Beard. Has nothing to do with his coaching. And that's just the long and the short of it. Period. They are not. Indiana is not in a position of, nor do they want to deal with the baggage that comes along, because also I've been told that there's some other stuff in there along with him. So, it's going to probably take him a while to get out of Oxford, Mississippi, before that next school, the bigger school, takes a risk on him. We'll see. But I don't think he gets out of the South, to be honest with you. Whether that's Texas or down in the southeastern area, I think that he stays down there. It's going to be hard for him to, not that it can't happen, and not that it shouldn't happen. I'm not saying that at all. So, do I think Dusty is off the table? Personally, I do. Yes. There's no way I think that a coach, a person would go through the rigmarole of signing a new contract 1 year into a job when you're being mentioned as a top candidate for another job if you did not have all intentions on recognizing and completing your contract with Michigan. I do not see Dusty May as a candidate for Indiana. No, in no way. He would not have, if he was going to be a candidate for the Indiana job, he would not have signed an extension. Why would he have? There's no point in doing it. If he was going to take the Indiana job. So yes, he is in my opinion, he is no longer a candidate. Brad Stevens is out. Dusty May is out. Chris Beard is out. Take those three, mark them off your list. A lot of Indiana fans are going to keep wanting and hoping for one of those three names, but it will not be the case. We're also asked, when will they have to hire a new coach, April or May? Well, they'll have it done by the beginning of April, I'm going to assume, because I think it moves fast once it gets. It could happen before the national championship, but I don't see it going very far after that. If it did, it could happen anywhere from just days before the national championship in that week to that following week, because most coaches will be done at that time, because you will be looking at the Final Four coming up. And unless that coach happens to be in the Final Four, I would not be surprised if that announcement was able to come out or start leaking out in that time frame. I don't have the calendar in front of me with those dates, but you know what I'm saying. Between the week before the Final Four, either the week before or the week after, I would think that an announcement would be forthcoming on who that next coach for Indiana is going to be. They have to get to it for a number of reasons. But the portal, roster construction, I don't think that there's going to be many players left on Indiana's roster, but you've got Trent Sisley to court. You still have to court him. I mean, he's coming to Indiana, I think, without question that his commitment is committed. But you're going to have 12 other guys that you're going to have to fill in. There may be one or two that sticks around. I don't know. I just don't see it happening. I don't think Mbako stays. I don't know that Tucker will stay, but I don't know that. We'll have to wait to see who the coach is and if he's able to talk to them before that happens. But that's all about the timing, when they can get that done. You know, Indiana's season could be over and guys could be looking elsewhere as soon as they could. So, going to be a lot going on, no doubt. We'll keep up with it all for you. Hey, we've got to take one more quick break in this hour. We got plenty more happening throughout the day, and we'll be talking about it from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Back with more right after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria in Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Joined now by Kyle Neddenrep, the Indy Stars beat writer, covering all things high school for football and basketball. And we are close to tournament time, Kyle, and that crazy time of year in Indiana.
Yeah, we sure are. Next week we'll get started with sectional play, and can't wait. It's always an awesome week of basketball.
Yeah, looking forward to it, and teams are rounding up. And I noticed that, you know, it's a great season because there are teams from corner to corner, top to bottom. Everybody has some representation, whether you're talking about Evansville up to Fort Wayne, from the region down to Jeffersonville, and, of course, in the center in Indianapolis. Everybody has got somebody that looks to be a player in the tournament this year.
Yeah, I actually talked to Sharon Wilkerson and PJ Douglas and Michael Cooper yesterday. Shameless plug if people want to check that out. We did a podcast yesterday for about 20 minutes or so with those three. Trey Singleton was out, left sick. Hopefully he's okay for next week. But yeah, those guys are, if you talk about one contender maybe from outside the area that has a chance to maybe see Fishers or represent well against that Fishers team, that may be the team you're looking at. And they do have a New Albany, I'm sure, won't go down easy in that sectional, and crazy things sometimes happen in that sectional at Seymour. But I can't imagine, it's going to take somebody really having a good night to beat them, and Jeffersonville being a little bit off on their game, but which sometimes happens in the sectional. But man, when you look at that team and what everything they have and the veteran leadership they have and sort of the community, the community aspect behind them, like they always do, but really excited about them. That's a team I think that, when you're looking way ahead, that could be a team that challenges Fishers potentially. And Fishers has a tough road too. I mean, right out of the gate, they get Westfield, who I saw last night against Mount Vernon. And, that Westfield team, they play so well together. They're one of those teams that's greater than the sum of its parts type of team. And they played Fishers really well the first time. So, neither of those teams can look ahead, but we can look ahead because we're not responsible for those teams.
So. Absolutely. Yeah. Jeffersonville, they got so close last year, man. It was right there, and it went away at the last second. So, and they're looking to come back and try to win a state championship, but it will be very tough as Fishers has just been standing at the top all season long.
Yeah, and it's hard to you're 1 point away in that moment last year, and they really could have closed that game out against Ben Davis better than they did, and kind of shut the door. But credit Ben Davis. I mean, that's a team that had been there the year before. Didn't have all the personnel from that championship team the year before, but yeah, they were tested and ready, and got it done at the end of the game. But then you start the season over and you're not 1 point away from the state championship. When the season starts over, you have to do it all over again. And that's what's ahead of Jeffersonville right now. But the way they've been playing lately, I mean, 10 wins in a row, everybody's healthy for the most part. And they look like a team that's got that pedigree in a year where there's a lot of really good challengers in 4A. But I don't know if anybody, when you have a big, it just in a good big like Singleton who can pass too. I mean, that's such a huge advantage. You look at like Trey Kaufman ran a few years ago at Silver Creek, and Caleb First when he was at Fort Wayne Blackhawk, and it's kind of the eraser to a lot of these teams are guard heavy and they're depending on the 3-point shot or having a good night shooting to win, and that's kind of what. That Westfield team, honestly, they're partly that, but when you have Singleton, that changes everything. So, but yeah, I would love to see, nothing against anybody else, but just from a standpoint of like wanting to see a great game. I mean, Fishers Jeffersonville would definitely be a lot of fun. There's other matchups too that would be fun, but that one would certainly be really good.
And there's going to be great matchups throughout the classes because, like I said, every area is represented in this, whether you're talking about South Bend and South Bend St. Joe or Cathedral out of Indianapolis. You've got even Silver Creek again from southern Indiana, and then up in the region and in Evansville. So great teams all over, man.
Yeah, I don't know if you said Anderson there, but they're a team that, the traditional power that, again, tough sectional. They would have to get through Mount Vernon and probably Greenfield just to get out of the sectional. That sectional at Muncie Central is going to be awesome, especially if it is Anderson, Greenfield in the championship or Mount Vernon, Greenfield going against each other in the championship. That will be outstanding. Can Braylon Mullins get it done? Greenfield hadn't won a sectional since 1998. And he's about to become tonight. He needs, I think, 24 points to break Greenfield Central's all-time scoring record. They play Prairie Meridian. I can't imagine he won't get that. So and if he doesn't, he'll probably get it in the first round of the sectional. So some things out there for him that go beyond the sectional. But that's kind of everything for that Greenfield team right now is can they get through there and get to the regional. and continue to play on. But yeah, there's all kinds of Crown Point's really good up in north. Warsaw, of course, they lost their leading scorer Luke Bricker to an injury, unfortunately, for the season. But that team, even Bricker didn't play great in the Hall of Fame. That Warsaw team did play really well. So I still think they have a chance to do some damage. But yeah, and then of course all the teams around here that are always good. Fishers, I think that Westfield game will be tough. I don't know that sectional is maybe quite as this is a pretty high standard, but maybe not quite as deep. But then you look at it like HSC's been playing really well. Carmel's always tougher than nails, and then Noblesville I think is a team too that with those two juniors with Walker and Curry that can get you on a given night. So. It's not completely over with that Fishers advances, but it's hard to pick against them.
Yeah, and it's always hard to pick against the favorites. But in high school ball, man, that's the great thing. On any given night, you mentioned rivalry games happen. That comes to be a lot of these times in these tournaments because of the proximity. Whether you talk about Bloomington schools or Columbus schools or Floyd New Albany or up in Indianapolis, there are a lot of rivalries that happen in these sectionals, and we get to see some upsets sometimes.
Yeah, and speaking of that, you'll have Attucks and Cathedral in the semifinal night in 3A, which those two, if you know about city basketball here, those two teams have been battling it out for the last few years to be the top in the city. And Cathedral got Attucks this year, but that's always and those teams playing in 3A, and they used to be in the same 4A sectional 10 which is at LC this year. But now those teams in 3A, because of this restructuring that the IHSAA did with only about 81 teams, I think, are in 4A. You cut off about 20 teams that are now in 3A, including Attucks and Cathedral and New Pal, which is really good as well. And then Brownstown moved up from 2A, so you got all these 3A teams that are all, really good. I think Cathedral's probably the best talented team, but Attucks can certainly beat them on a given night. But, and then you mentioned South Bend St. Joe. They were in the state finals last year, and with Chase Canese leading them. They're very deep, very quick, play up tempo. They're a fun team to watch, too, out of the north there. So 3A is loaded, man. There are so many good teams in 3A, obviously 4A too, but man, 3A is really, really good. And I wouldn't be surprised there's any one of, there or any two of probably 15 teams that could potentially make the state championship game.
And some quality names there, man. Fort Wayne Blackhawk, Indianapolis Attucks, Silver Creek, Guerin, Catholic, New Pal, Brownstown, South Bend St. Joe, Cathedral. That's just a who's who, murderer's row of names right there.
Yeah, Princeton's 20-2. They're really good this year. That they'll have. That's always a tough sectional. They're in there with Southridge and Gibson Southern's really good this year. Vincennes, Washington. Those will be all close games. You can almost count on that sectional. Like they'll all be like 2-point games, and they'll all be low scoring probably in the 40s and 50s type of games, if even that high in some cases. But yeah, Princeton's a team that they've won, I think, every game they played against other 3A opponents this year. Some of them really close games, but that's a team that last year they were in the sectional against Southridge. They knocked out Trent Sisley and Heritage Hills, then ended up losing to Southridge in the sectional final in that sectional. So that's a team that's kind of been building here and kind of had my eye on them this year to track and see how they would finish out the season.
Make sure you keep following up with Kyle Neddenrep. Keep up with all things that are coming up as the tournament is here, people. Give him a follow and keep local papers alive. Be a subscriber to your local paper. Appreciate you, my friend.
You bet. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. Kyle Neddenrep joining us here on Indiana Sports Speed Radio. That's going to wrap it up for this hour. We've got more coming up. Rick Bozich will join us in the next hour, and we'll talk more about potential coaches as well for the Hoosiers. Back with more after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Looking forward to Rick Bozich stopping by in a little while to join us, as our weekly Wednesday conversations are always lively. Appreciate you guys being along as well. Boy, we've got names out there. Chris Collins is the best name out of the bunch, according to Gritty. Everybody has an opinion. And then John Pence puts up a 68-121 Big Ten record for Chris Collins. But that's kind of like Tom Crean's record at Indiana, if you don't consider the fact of the rebuild at the beginning. But everybody's going to have something to say about any name, like I said. And they have the right to. Someone mentioned Todd Golden. Is he on the edge? No, but his nearly $15 million buyout is. He was cleared of all that stuff, but maybe that would have been enough. But it wouldn't matter. Like I said, he has a $15 million or $14+ million buyout. That's too much. So that will take care of him, in my opinion. Indiana is not going to pay a $16-18 million buyout for somebody. They're already going to be over $60 million in their own buyouts of what they have paid their own coaches over the last decade once Mike Woodson's situation is rectified. So they don't need to be paying a billion or millions and millions more. They have to continue to work on the NIL side of things, but the revenue sharing is coming next year. And I saw an article yesterday that I sent to myself, and hopefully I can find that in the midst of my all of my own mail. But that Georgia came out and basically told people that they're going to expect to pay football athletes about 75% of the rev share money. And that should not be a shocker to anybody, because football makes at least 75%, if not more, of the money that's coming in. So why would it not go out? The trick is going to be for schools to find a way to still boost this with NIL. Rev share and NIL are not the same thing, so don't get them confused. Rev share is what it is, what it says, revenue sharing, revenue that is coming in from the Big Ten. Actually, they don't even see, the schools won't even see the money. It is kept and divided into a third party from the Big Ten, or the TV money, however it comes out. But NIL is name, image, likeness. Those are individual deals for individual players that can be set up through a co-op, or they can set their own up. Nothing prevents them from doing that. So don't confuse the two. But 75% of the money is most likely from most schools, if not more, will go to the football program. And that is because that's where the money is made. You have to keep that machine going. So you have to put the money into it. There's nothing here about, oh, well, what about the tennis team? And what about the cross? What about them? That has nothing to do with this. They're not driving revenue. This is revenue share, not being an athlete share. So please don't get on the side of equality and then the male and female thing. That has nothing to do with it. This is pure, unadulterated business. Revenue sharing. They're generating the revenue. They're getting to share in it. Doesn't matter what it is. If it was a school whose revenue happened to come from gymnastics, that's where the revenue should go. But that's not the case. Georgia, like I said, came out. Georgia's athletic department is planning to pay their football players, which accounts to be about $13.5 million in revenue sharing this upcoming year as part of the expected settlement in the House case that we're all waiting for that to come to be. It's April 7th, I think, is the expected date that is supposed to be approved or not. We shall see. Georgia Athletics Director Josh Brooks made the revelations during a Tuesday meeting of the school's athletic board. Brooks and expected other SEC schools to make that same decision. I think we're going to be in line with our conference peers, Brooks said. It has been known for a while that the House settlement, expected to be finalized in April, would result in schools directly paying athletes a total of around $20.5 million during the next school year. But it hasn't been known what the percentages would be. Brooks said Tuesday that Georgia was planning to pay its players in similar proportion to how the House settlement would disperse back pay for name, image, and likeness. 75% to football players, 15% to men's basketball, 5% for women's basketball, and 5% for others. The money is from the direct revenue sharing and doesn't count money collectives pay out to football players and other athletes. That is where you hear of Ohio State having a $20 million budget just for football. Well, that's because that came strictly from NIL. There was no revenue sharing involved in that. So that shows you these schools like Ohio State or whomever, even Indiana, for example, whatever they are already paying in NIL to football, they could still pay that on top of this. Or they can take that and shift, move it around, a lot of different things that can be done. But that's how that is going to work, to give you an understanding of the rev share. So hope that made sense. It all means that they're getting rich. We're not. Just kidding. What a gig though, man. We're talking some sweet cash. Justin says Scott Drew to IU, Chris Beard to Baylor. You know what? There could be something to that. Never even thought of that, but that could be something to that. Jamie says, do you think the next coach will get more than 4 years to set up a program? Do they need more than 4 years? I hope to God not. You don't need 4 years to set up a program. You don't need 3 years to set up a program. Not in this day and age. Again, I will point out, Louisville has 13 new players ranked in the top 15 right now. Kentucky, with basically a brand new team, ranked in the top 20. Rick Pitino's squad, brand new team, ranked in the top 10. You don't need 4 years, people. This is not 1985. And I'm not getting on you, Jamie. I'm just, because I see this a lot. It's not about 4 years or 3 years. You can see the direction of a program. At least I can. You can see the direction of a program by how the recruiting is going, how the product on the field or the court is, what is going on with the particular team. Is there discipline? Is there does there seem to be a directional flow? Does there seem to be things making rhyme or reason? If none of that is happening, I don't think 4 or 40 years makes a difference. If it's not the right fit, it ain't the right fit. That's just my take on that. I will, but that's me. I could always be wrong. So, but everyone has their own opinion. Let me know what you think. Who could be the next guy that we're not thinking about? That's off the charts for Indiana. I don't have that name, but he's probably out there. Maybe it is somebody that we're not thinking of. Who knows? We'll certainly find out. We're going to take another quick break and get to Rick Bozich. Well, I better wait for a minute to give Rick a few minutes to get ready. Rick will join us. We'll put him to the test on what he thinks. But yeah, on the 4 years, you just don't need that. You can tell. I knew 2 years into this thing, I was like, just like with Archie Miller, you're like, oh, you can see a direction that something is going in. It's they're either going in three ways. It's either going well, going badly, or not going at all. But only one of those is good. But it doesn't take 4 years to get there. That I believe. So, hey, let's take a quick break and we'll get Rick Bozich in on this conversation so he can spread some much more intelligent thoughts out there. Back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after this break.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie Island, Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. So happy to have you along, but not as happy as having Rick Bozich with us. Makes us all the better. Sir Rick, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Jim. How are you?
Cannot complain. I'm ready for some spring weather, man. Got a little taste of it yesterday, and it was nice.
Yeah, I just got back from walking the dog. It's 45 degrees here today. I imagine it's going up in the 60s again. So hopefully we've turned the corner.
Whoop whoop. Well, don't speak yet, man. Don't jinx us. We'll get 10 inches of snow or something next week. Before you know it. I've been throwing out bobbing names out there because it's got to get to a point where there has to be like a top 3 of viable candidates, but that could be, you ask 3 people, you're going to get 3 different lists. And not one of those 3 lists will be able to get through a fan vote without somebody not liking all 3 of them, or somebody not liking all 3 of them at least. But I threw 3 names out today that I think are, not that it's like my pick or anything, but I think Scott Drew is someone that you got to look at. I know he turned Louisville down. I know he turned Kentucky down. That was a year ago. What's this year like? I don't know. Does he see Baylor as a longer term, tougher battle now, maybe? Or, hey, maybe this is a great opportunity. I don't know, but it's there and he's viable. The money is viable. TJ Otzelberger with his buyout only being $4 million. Got to look at him. People say, well, he won't leave. Who knows? He might. I don't know. And then the third one, I could just fill that in with a lot of different guys. So, I mean, you can go with Brownell as a favorite pick for an Indiana connection, or you could go with Ben McCollum as a young up-and-comer, or Grant McCaslin at Texas Tech. But that's about all for me. But there's other names out there that are just as viable that you can mention probably 6 that are completely different.
Yeah, I don't know about 6, but I could mention a few other ones. But yeah, I agree with you. No matter who you pick, there's going to be people who say, I didn't want him, or here's why they shouldn't have hired him, and this and that. Drew, I don't know. My sense is because he's been at Baylor for as long as he's been there, he's not leaving. They're going to put his name on the floor in the arena at some point. That's his program, built from the dust of the previous scandal. Otzelberger, I think, is a viable candidate. I know that I've said, and other people have said previously, that his wife's a former Iowa State basketball star. But if you read deeper into his resume, someone said she's actually from Australia, so it's not like she's got lifelong family.
She's a big Aussie fan. She's a big Iowa State fan, you're saying.
There you go. And the third one, I don't know. I mean, I've heard Cronin, I've heard Buzz Williams, I've heard Chris Beard, I've heard on and on and on. I don't know. At this point, I don't know who it's going to be. It's McDermott. You could go. There's probably a couple names that we don't even think of that are at a job that we wouldn't think they would leave, that will at least have their agent inquire to see what Indiana can offer. Because if they're going to offer, over 5. There's probably, I don't know the list for sure, but I doubt there are that many college basketball coaches making over 5 million and for sure over 6 million. You might be able to money whip somebody. You might be able to. And in today's world, there's going to be some coaches who aren't in the Big Ten or aren't in the SEC that want to be in one of those leagues because they know going forward that's the place to be, because those are the programs that are going to have superior revenue and resources.
Steve asks why I don't coach. I have a job, unfortunately, but I would love to get fired by IU and I could retire. So I wish. But yeah,
go.
it's going to be something. And then people have asked from a timing standpoint, and I have pinpointed. I think that there will be something come out the either days before the Final Four or that week or immediately afterwards. It's got to be in that timeline because you have to get it out as quickly as possible for roster construction.
Yeah, you do. I think I mentioned this last week that the Archie thing was the Monday after the regionals, because I remember I was in Memphis when Kentucky played and got beat by North Carolina on that shot by Luke May. And we drove from Memphis. Tom Lane and I drove from Memphis to Bloomington on Monday morning. Obviously, after that weekend, there's only 4 teams left. So
how long did that drive take you?
It was a solid 6, I think. 5 or 6.
That makes me feel better about having to drive to Ole Miss for graduation in May.
There you go. You might even be faster because the interstate's all open now. The odds are that's when it'll be. If it's not going to be then, it'll be a coach that got beaten the first weekend of the tournament. So you have that PR hump to navigate.
Yeah.
But I don't. Most of the work's being done right now, I think, in terms of narrowing it down to who they actually are interested in and getting a good sense of who is actually legitimate, would listen. That's the danger you would have in any of these jobs, is sorting the guys who are actually seriously interested in the IU jobs away from the guys who are interested in using the IU job to getting a better contract where they're at right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. Does Indiana end up with a good hire, or do they end up getting themselves in another position where they're kind of chasing their tail, so to speak, trying to fill the position? Big difference in getting a guy and filling the position.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be, the Indiana job's not for every coach. You have to have a coach who understands A, what the expectations are, B, what the environment is in terms of, fans, and not just in terms of criticism of fans, but fans wanting a coach who engages with them on some level. You need a coach who understands what it's going to be like to be in the Big Ten and what it's going to require to compete in the Big Ten going forward. You have to have a coach who's going to be willing to possibly, move into the new era of having a general manager involved, who's involved in setting up your NIL and all that kind of stuff, because that's a whole new part of the job now. You got to have a more modern thinking, modern looking coach.
That, and Indiana is, unfortunately, because of a lot of comments about when I mentioned Chris Beard, and I say that Chris Beard is not going to happen in any stretch of the imagination. It is not happening.
You're 100% sure of that?
I am 100% sure of that. I really feel that way right now. Now,
yeah, I don't think it is either, but
I can be. But I feel extraordinarily strong about that. Stronger now than I did a week ago.
I tend to agree with you. I don't know if I'd say 100%. I know there are a lot of fans out there that really want them, and then there are people
absolutely
that don't want them. And I just don't think that Indiana is going to go in that direction, and we'll see.
They can't.
I think he wants the job.
Ironically, he would crawl over broken glass to get here for the job. But ironically, last night I watched the Last Days of Night. The 30 for 30 was on, and I just happened to watch it again. And people talk about Night. They didn't bring that in. They didn't know that was 30 years after the fact that stuff was going to be there. It happened along the way, and then there were people that were allowing it to go on, either pretended they didn't know, or maybe they didn't know until they did. And when you're winning, it's hard to do away with things, and they were winning. So, but they're not going to knowingly bring something in like that. And especially now they've got the thing going on with Bamba. They have enough. They're not going to openly, purposely bring more drama into their lives. I would not imagine.
Yeah. I mean, this is a whole different level in terms of, abusing a woman, whether, I know in the initial police report, there were reports of bite marks, and she couldn't breathe for 5 seconds, and, some fairly serious stuff. I know she recanted later and said she wished she hadn't called the police and he didn't do some of those things, but Texas fired him. And we all know that in last year's go around, it didn't really seem like Kentucky or Louisville or Michigan was interested in Chris Beard. So, he's been 2 years at Ole Miss though, without any incidents. So, I don't know. I agree with you. I don't think Indiana's going to go in that direction.
I think he's going to go a few more years at Ole Miss before anybody else takes a shot at him. I think he's just going to have to pine his time for a while, which it is what it is. So, and Indiana is going to have to move on, because they're not going to get Brad Stevens, they're not going to get Dusty May, and they're not going to get Chris Beard, the 3 top desires of most Indiana fans. I'd say that's pretty much a certainty. Now, where do you go from there? Because you're going to get away from any connection, most likely, to the school, which is probably a good thing. Maybe that's exactly what they need to clean it, to kind of cut the line, to cut the umbilical cord. But you still have to have someone that understands the tradition, understands the fans, understands the job. Like you said, it's not a job for everybody. You have to understand, like Tom Crean did, all the things that go along with it, and be willing to do those things.
Yeah, you do. And from what we've been able to put together, that wasn't a priority with Mike Woodson. And somebody who's going to build a relationship with grassroots basketball in the state of Indiana, huh?
It almost appeared as it was beneath him.
He didn't want to be bothered by it. Yeah, that's too trivial for him. I don't know. We've already been through this, and we know that he didn't invest the energy in that kind of stuff, and because he didn't see it, in my opinion, he didn't see what the payback was. Well, the payback might not be immediate. The payback might be down the line, where you've gone out and connected with enough people that 3 years from now, there might be some recruit that somebody told him, yeah, I dealt with Woodson. He's a great guy. You'd love to play for him. He gets what Indiana basketball is all about. I don't think he gets those kinds of recommendations from people right now, because I don't think he works at it. I mean, how many times have we dealt with him at Huber's when it's a more relaxed atmosphere, and he'll come in there and talk and be, he's okay, but he doesn't really seem like he loves doing it. And then he'll go sit in the other part of the room by himself and eat, where a guy like Crean would maybe sit down in the middle of a bunch of us and start talking and stuff, even because he gets it. He understands that that's part of the job. Woody doesn't want to be bothered by that stuff. And as long as we've been there, you've been there with him for 4 years. I mean, he never acts in the press conference like he really knows any of the media people, does he? I mean, it's like,
man, 20, he doesn't know some of his players' own names, right?
25 strangers in there asking him questions every week. I mean, right?
All the time, I'm like, does he know me? Does he not know me?
No,
I'm like, it cracks me up. So I'm like, you've been on my show several times. I'm sitting in front of you all the time. But yeah, it's kind of weird.
It's very weird. It's very weird. And, and the way he's gone out with, didn't Yasir do his radio show this week? And he's not doing, when you can't get along with Fish, I don't need to know anymore. That's all I need to know.
Well, it's just the hypocrisy of your own sanctimonious self that you can't get over. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. But it is what it is. But
well, even in Sunday's game, it was hilarious. They won that game. Well, two of the primary reasons they won that game is one, he didn't do the substituting he normally does, correct? And secondly is he didn't play two big guys together at all in the second half when they played their best basketball of the year. He played one big guy, mainly Renew, and four other guys who could handle the ball and move and pass and spread the floor. And when Renew came out, Bala went in. Mbako, who we've been talking about on the show for quite a while, his lack of interest in playing defense, sat the entire second half. And what was it, their best defensive performance of the season? I mean, he finally he finally embraced what a lot of people have been talking about since November, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, Carlisle didn't play hardly at all. He played a little bit in the first half. Tucker didn't play any. These dudes who don't really want to guard, then do what Bob Knight would have done, which is like, okay, sit here and watch the game with me.
Yeah, exactly. And that has happened. I mean, Mackenzie Mbako sure saw a lot of pine time. He didn't play him.
Second half.
And the fact that Indiana was able to win that game with Trey Galloway and Anthony Leo and Luke Goody is kind of amazing. But that's who won the game, along with Malik Renew and Umar Ballo.
And Rice. I thought Rice played.
That was Rice's defense. Oh man, it did. But
here is the next question. Isn't the next question like, why haven't you?
Where's that been
all year?
Yes. Huh? Yes, it is. Where has that been? Is the optimum question. And you do. Why haven't you played like that? Why? What caused? As a matter of fact, why did it happen at halftime? Because you're down, because you're losing, because the coach said something. I'd love to know what was the impetus for the play. And if you actually asked that question, I don't think you'd get an answer.
No, he finally got over the hump, Jim. No, I mean, the thing is, offensively, you can have a bad game. You can miss shots. You can possibly be too aggressive and turn the ball over. You can, do other things. But defensively, you should be able to play at a consistent level every game. I mean, you should be able to. And he thoroughly outplayed Braden Smith. They turned him over a bunch of times. He put pressure on the ball that made Purdue uncomfortable. And it was a critical factor in Indiana winning the game. And then you say, are you going to do it Wednesday night against Penn State? Are you going to do it Saturday at Washington? Because if you don't, then they're going to fall back into right where they were before.
Doug Gottlieb. That is funny, Heath. A name out there. Thad Matta. I don't think people realize how close Thad Matta was to being the Indiana coach.
The last time or earlier on?
The last time.
Yeah, no, I think he was the second choice. That's what I was told.
Well, he was, I got a lot of grief over there. We had two words that were inverted, but he was going to be the guy. He called a second meeting, and I think it was at that time he let them know about his health situation, which was pretty serious, and in essence took himself out of the running. And I think that he would have been the Indiana coach if it had not been for that.
I agree. I think he was the second choice, but he wasn't sure he was up to the workload in terms of, getting out and doing stuff, recruiting and traveling and things like that because of the situation he has.
He wasn't at the time.
He wasn't. He is now.
Yeah.
And it's not going, let's be honest, it's not going great at Butler. It's okay. I think he plays Patino tonight, doesn't he? At 9:00.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's got to be a tough place. I mean, what kind of an NIL budget could they have? And, they're playing against UConn and Patino and those
Marquette
teams that are very, very serious about it. So it's got to be a tough league to play in now if you don't have NIL.
It is. But, I just wonder whether there's somebody out there that nobody's thinking about, some established coach that nobody's thinking about that, like, I don't know. I don't even know who it would be if I had to throw a name out there. Greg Gard or
boy, he would be a hell of a one to get.
Yeah.
Is he the most underrated coach in the Big Ten?
Yes. Yes, he is.
I agree.
And he's changed. He's changed this year. They're an offensive team, not a defensive team. And let's be honest, they lost Chucky Hepburn. They lost, what's his name? AJ Starr last year, who was his best player?
AJ Storr.
Okay.
To Kansas,
And
Connor Esigian.
Connor Esigian to Nebraska. I mean, he lost 2 starters and a decent sub and went out and replaced them with, this Tanji
And got better.
Missouri, I guess.
He went out and got better.
Got better.
That's the mark of a good coach, and the fact that like you just said, he was able to adjust and change. That is the mark of a great coach. That is the mark of a guy who does what it takes to win.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe there is some other big name coach out there who's at his current job that just wants something new in his life. Who knows?
We'll find out. Let's take a quick break and we'll reset it. Got some messages to get to. The great Rick Bozich from WDRB.com is with us, back with more on the backside from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum, Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com with us. Make sure you're giving him a follow, keeping up with all of his content, covering college athletics and more at WDRB.com. How about Matt Painter weighing in on the IU situation? That seems to be making the rounds a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he has asked the question, so he felt empowered to answer it. I think in a lot of ways, I think he might have been better to say, I just need to coach my team and let Indiana figure out their own deal. The issue I always have with this is, people try and make it like Indiana fans are different than any other fans in the country, and fans are fans everywhere we go, whether it's Alabama football fans, North Carolina basketball fans, Kentucky fans, Ohio State fans, Indiana fans, Purdue fans. Fans are not any different. And the comments about IU fans support the team or whatever else he said, did he say the same thing to Purdue football fans when they turned on their football coach after 2 years? I mean, did he? Did he say it when they turned on Darrell Hazel after 4 years? Purdue's a middle-of-the-road football program, which is, hit the eject button on 2 of their last 3 coaches pretty quick, especially this last guy. And I don't know, did he? I don't remember him saying that to Purdue fans. Maybe I missed it.
No, and the funny thing is, Purdue made the right decision.
They did. They did make the right decision. And if we're being perfectly honest, that Indiana should have made a change last year, and there wouldn't be this mess right now. And they'd have the coach in there they wanted to have, and they probably have some players that they wanted to have. So that's my view on all this. And
more importantly, they'd have the success that they want to have. And more importantly, they'd have the success that they want to have.
Yeah, there have been Matt Painter's not the only. You've got Rick Pitino pushing Chris Beard. You've got every national media guy writing a column about IU basketball, what they need to do, what they should do, or whatever like that. Everybody feels like they need to weigh in on. They're not weighing in on who Florida State needs to hire. They're not weighing in on who Virginia needs to hire, and they just won a national championship 6 years ago with Tony Bennett. Indiana is the talking point of this entire coaching cycle because people know that the resources and the support the program has is far above any of these other schools. And if they get the right coach in there, they're going to return to prominence again. And that's just the way it is. So that'd be my question for Matt Painter is like, what'd you have to say when Ryan Walters hit the road after 2 years?
Absolutely. And I just wonder what it will be like when Indiana does get back to that point. I think what is good for the Big Ten. I've said it's good for college basketball, but it'll certainly be good for Indiana because I expect them to be good in football for a while. There's no reason not to be because they've committed to it. And they have a guy that can get it done, obviously. So that would be something. And for a school the size of Indiana to be good in both of those sports would be pretty spectacular.
Yeah. I doubt they're going to go 11-2 again, but
no.
If he can keep stacking bowl game appearances in there, and an occasional trip to the playoff, he'll be IU coach for the rest of as long as he wants to be. And he's a guy that we've even seen, as impressive as last season was, the work that they did in the portal after the season showed that, he's taken it up a notch. They got better players this year out of the portal than they got last year. So, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's going to be, let's see, the conference tournaments are going on in 2 weeks. We'll have teams eliminated from the NCAA tournament in 3 weeks, almost everybody out in 4 weeks. So maybe a month from now, there'll be a press conference in Bloomington and they'll introduce the next coach. It'll be a long 4 weeks, though. A long 4 weeks.
That's the thing. And lots of chatter between then and now. But tonight, Indiana taking on Penn State, a game that they have to win. Penn State has just really fallen off of the rocker, man, from the beginning of the season. Indiana got that road win, and at the time it looked really good. But it has really kind of paled since then. But Indiana has to get this game won, of course. They have their final game will be against Ohio State at home. In between, after this game, they hit the road heading west to Oregon and Washington. I think that they have to go 3-1. I don't know that they have to go 4-0. A win over Oregon would do them a lot of good. A loss is probably not going to hurt them terribly. 3-1 with a win in the Big Ten tournament, I don't know if that's enough.
You don't think 3-1 and a win in the Big Ten tournament is enough? I think that would be enough. That would get them to,
and a win in the Big Ten tournament enough, you think?
If they beat Penn State, Washington, and Ohio State and get one win in the Big Ten tournament, I think that'll probably be enough. But it'll all come down to how many off-the-wall winners there are in some of these conference tournaments that are multiple bid leagues. Those are where, it makes it hard to predict what's going on. They're going to have to sweat it out on Selection Sunday unless they go 4-0 the rest of the regular season and win a game or two in the Big Ten tournament. And tonight's no cinch. Penn State beat them in Bloomington last year? Penn State's actually turned it around and won its last 2 games. They got Ace Baldwin, who's capable of taking over any game. And if Indiana comes out and doesn't play the way they played against Purdue and starts feeling, like, they've got it made now that they can easily get beat.
What do you think of Chris Jans?
He's okay. I mean, I don't know. He wouldn't be one of my top 10 picks. Why? Do you like him?
Well, I was hoping you could take that cue. I needed to run out for a second, but someone asked the question, and I was curious because he's doable because he doesn't have a big contract. He's having some success at Mississippi State. His buyout is like $4 million or less, or what have you.
Today's not a good day to ask because he got beat by Alabama by 38 points last night. In the game before, we lost to a bad Oklahoma team. He's okay. I mean, I don't think the fan base would. I don't think he'd win over the fan base. Didn't he had some issue at Bowling Green or something where he was with a woman or something? He was hitting on a woman who wasn't his wife or something.
I can't keep up with all the scandals. There's so many of them.
I think there was something involved in that, and then he went somewhere else briefly before he went to Mississippi State. They can do better than Chris Jans. He was at Bowling Green for 1 year, New Mexico State for 5 years, and he's been at Mississippi State for 3 years. He's had several good years. I mean, he's a fine coach. I just don't think he wouldn't be my pick.
Is Bruce Pearl out of the question? I think he is, just because of his age and nothing else, in addition to would he leave what he has going right now and come to why? He's built what he needs to build at Auburn. What the hell would he need to come to Indiana for at this stage?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Bruce Pearl. With Bruce Pearl, a lot of it is about Bruce Pearl. The Indiana basketball would be about Bruce Pearl instead of being about Indiana basketball. He's got a huge ego and got a lot of energy, got a lot of enthusiasm, got a tremendous winning record. But I think at this point, isn't he 65 or something? I
think he's going to be 65.
Right. Plus he's,
yeah.
I don't see that being the case. I don't see him being the coach.
Can you imagine if they had hired Rick Pitino 4 years ago?
No, I can't. Yeah, someone said he wanted it when, I don't know, when Knight got fired or something. Is that?
Rumors. Coolio asking, what is the point of a buyout if it is true that UCLA would negotiate down Cronin's buyout if he wants to leave? That seems to fly in the face of the buyout concept, because at the time they thought they wanted to keep him locked down for a long time, and now maybe both parties have decided they don't want to be locked down for a long time. So that would provide that. I have not seen a lot of fan support for Mick Cronin.
Yeah, I mean, he criticized early on. He expressed his unhappiness about UCLA making all these trips across the country. So that was number one. Then he ripped his team for lack of effort and being delusional and thinking they're better than they are as players. And he carried that on. And then he ripped the fans because they didn't cheer or they were booed or something when they missed free throws. And, in the last week, I read a column from the Daily Bruin, which is a student paper at UCLA, saying that, Mick Cronin needed to have a big march, or after all the stuff he was doing, he was going to be in trouble. And Bill Plaschke, who's an award-winning columnist at the LA Times, wrote a column yesterday in the LA Times basically saying that, Cronin is being known for this complaining all the time instead of, he's a good coach, his teams play hard, but all this whining after the game and all this complaining about stuff is what he's starting to be known for. And, he needs to change that. He needs to take a different approach to that. And I just wonder whether some of the stuff he's complaining about all the time is signaling to people saying, I'm not really happy here and I'd like out of here. And UCL and softening up the UCL administration, saying, we get this guy here who doesn't really like it here. Maybe we should cut his buyout and let him go. I don't know.
I think that sounds like the case because it doesn't do UCLA good to have a guy who's not happy there. They haven't had the success they've wanted through the last two coaches now, although both have had semblance of success. Steve Alford went to a 3 Sweet 16s, but that was his ceiling there. And Mick Cronin is just not it. But I guess maybe they don't have all the resources they need, it sounds like.
UCLA is a great program. They have a tremendous tradition, but they don't have great support. I mean, they don't. I've mentioned this.
You're in Los Angeles. It's just I think it gets lost.
Yeah, you're in Los Angeles, and there's a lot of other things to do. You're at best the third most popular basketball team behind the Lakers and the Clippers. And if Eric Musselman gets it going at USC, you might be fourth. And I looked it up last week, and I'm looking it up right now. I've almost have it. They're only averaging, last week it was 47% capacity in a 14,000 seat arena. So I'm trying to look right now. They're way down here. They're 68th in the country in attendance. They're averaging 6,675 fans a game in a 13,800 seat arena. They're at 48% capacity. So he's not even filling half of what would be a small building in the Big Ten. And that tells me two things. One is people aren't crazy about the product. And he's been good. I mean, he hasn't been bad. He wins. And secondly is it tells me that as Mick Cronin is a basketball guy, he's from the Midwest. He coached at Cincinnati when Huggins had it rolling. He coached at Louisville when Pitino had it rolling. He's got to be in there saying, what am I doing here? This is 5 or 6 years in, and we can't come close to filling the building. This isn't a real basketball place.
It's not. I mean, it's like you said, being in Los Angeles, you would think having that many people would be a benefit, but I think it's not. I think it just gets lost. The students, maybe you can't build. How do you build, student tradition in Los Angeles? When we're used to going to all these college towns, where even Louisville is an urban school, but they still have the city revolves around the University of Louisville.
Yes,
that is not the case in Los Angeles. And then you have Indiana or Kentucky and smaller, college towns, and that's what the atmosphere is like. God, it could not be any further from the case for like UCLA and closer to an LA Lakers situation. You need showtime. You need showtime.
I don't remember if you went or not, but I'm sure if you didn't go, you watched it. When Indiana played UCLA in the Rose Bowl, the place was empty. I mean, it's the kind of place where if you're really winning at a high level, they're going to come. But if you're not, when you're only filling half the building, there's no pressure on fans to buy tickets. They know I can go any game I want to go, and I can decide an hour before the game to go and drive and walk up to the building and buy a ticket. That's the kind of situation you're in. And they've won recently. They were in the Final Four in 2021. I think he was like 16-2 in the Pac-12 a couple of years ago. He had, players that people remembered, whether it was that Tiger Campbell guy or Johnny Jaquez or the guy who's on the Miami Heat now, or Juzang, who played at Kentucky, and he's got decent players now. I mean, he does. It's a good product, but it's not captivating UCLA fans. It's not.
Nope, and it's hard to do that. But Indiana, that's the great thing about Indiana. Even when they suck, they still have this core of fans that are there. Now the ebbs and flows, but even bad is pretty good. But
when that goes away, that's when the program's in trouble. And that's what I would say to somebody like Matt Painter, that as long as that's there, Indiana has a chance to bring the program back, because it's putting pressure on the administration to saying this isn't good enough. And if you gave Matt Painter truth serum and you said, do you really think Mike Woodson's done a good job? Do you really think he deserves a 5th year? It's not just Mike Woodson. Any coach that would be at Indiana after 4 years and is looking at missing the tournament his last 2 years and not really coming close to competing for a Big Ten title would be looked at the way Mike Woodson's looked at.
He knows he's not going to lose many recruits to Mike Woodson.
Correct.
Because he is going to outwork him. He's going to
Correct.
out-recruit him. So he does not want to see Mike Woodson go away.
You're right.
But he has not beaten him on the court like one would imagine.
No, they're 4-4. That's the thing.
Not only that, could easily be 5-3.
Could easily be 5-3. And last year there were 2 blowouts, but this year they could have won the first game. And that's part of the Mike Woodson puzzle of can't beat Nebraska, can't beat Northwestern, struggles against Penn State, but does okay against Purdue. Beats Ohio State too. Isn't Ohio State another team he has a good record against? I think it is.
Yeah, and they've got those great net rankings, although they're 2 games above 500. I don't understand
Ohio State.
But,
I don't either. That game's
crazy.
That's going to be that's almost like
game.
an NCAA tournament elimination game. That's an NCAA tournament game, the last game of the year, because both of those teams.
Q1.
Yeah, that's a huge game for IU.
Indiana and Penn State tonight. They've got to get it done. What is on your agenda?
I'll be watching that. I'll be watching Kentucky at Oklahoma tonight. Louisville won again last night. They've just finished their ACC road schedule with a 9-1 record. They finished the year with 3 home games, which they should all win. They're going to end up 18-2 in the ACC in their first year under Pat Kelsey. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, especially with the fact of 13 new players. I mean, an entire complete roster.
And 2 very important players injured and been out this whole calendar year. 2 guys that would be in the rotation.
Is Pat Kelsey?
Yeah, he is.
Yes, he is the Kurt Signetti of college basketball this year. Came from the College of Charleston, maybe bigger. The College of Charlestown is not James Madison.
No, it's not. But yeah, he's won. They've had one. They've played 1 game all year when they didn't play their best, and that was Georgia Tech. They lost on the road. So for a team to be 22-6 and play 28 games where they delivered 1 performance that wasn't at their best, pretty good.
And how about Bill Self, man? Not having a great last.
Not having a great year, and then admits that he thought about the Oklahoma State job. I mean, that was weird.
I mean, why you do that? Just to get some attention off you? But that doesn't do that.
I don't know. I don't know.
People are crazy.
And they were supposed to be loaded. They got Hunter Dickinson and AJ Storr and all these other dudes. What are you doing?
Got that there. See, that's just they're in a situation like Indiana. They had a great store-bought roster and didn't happen. And
yeah, they shot the Rodeo Drive.
Hunter Dickinson seems maybe he's the thing that brings everything down. It didn't work wherever he's been.
You might be facetious, but I agree with that. I think he's all about Hunter Dickinson.
I'm not. I'm serious. Because he has that look about him. When he stomped somebody or something earlier in the season. I remember he got booted for it, as he should have. But and Anthony Leo, did you watch that by chance?
I saw the replay. Yeah,
I think that was a dirty play. Personally,
yeah, I don't like
dirty play.
Somebody's crotch.
That's what I said.
I think he thought it was a dirty play too, because after he didn't get thrown out, he looked like he was a little bit surprised.
Yeah, I agree. Rick Bozich, the captain, we appreciate you, brother, as always.
Right. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, sir. Make sure you give Rick a follow and keep up with everything he's got going at WDRB.com. Appreciate you guys for being with us on the program today. As always, we're back tomorrow to do it again. Coach Shannon Griffith will be with us. We'll talk some football. It's caught up on some of Indiana's latest recruits and what's going on there. Bob Kravitz as well. And we'll see what else we can scare up for you along the way. It's been a fun one as always. We can't do it without you. So grateful. Go out and have yourselves a great and wonderful day. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.